So welcome everyone to another episode of Podium Stories. Today we have a very special guest in the building, somebody that I've wanted to interview for a couple of weeks now. And we had a really great conversation off camera last week. I think you guys are going to love this conversation. Today, his name is Jeremiah. He's the CEO of Sundae, born out of the cultural powerhouse 72 and Sunny. Sundae is reinventing the agency model to deliver the real-time content and media optimization of a performance marketer paired with a strategy and service of creative agency. And I want to touch on that later. But he's also a renowned marketing industry expert. He's been published and quoted in a long list of national publications, which we're not going to quote all of them, but a few of them, New York Times, Financial Times, Each Day, Adweek. Jeremiah, thank you so much for being here, man. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Marti.
Absolutely. So one of the first things that I wanted to start was that transition between 72 and Sunny. Before we get into the content marketing and the influencer side, so you guys were part of 72 and Sunny, which if you're a listener, it's a big agency with a big brand, and it was very interesting to me that you guys were part of that and then decided to become independent. But first I want to ask you, what were the things, the ideas, the takeaways, the lessons that you kind of stole from them and implemented with Sundae as well?
So it's a great question. I've been really fortunate throughout my career in the organizations I've worked for. I've also been a little unfortunate for some of the other organizations I've worked for, but I've worked for a few creative organizations. One's Wieden Kennedy, another one is it's called Campfire, and I also worked with 72 and Sunny. And the one great thing about creative organizations, and particularly 72 and Sunny, is that they're so conscious and intentional about about how they work with people, about how they hire people, about how they go about getting people to work together. That's environment, that's collaboration platforms, and that's also in the kinds of clients that they seek out, right? I've seen so many times where an agency will end up in a bad marriage, but financially it's just very hard to get out of it for the agency owners, and that happens a lot. But the way that a creative organization can navigate that, you don't see a lot of times it will bring down, and our industry is littered with agencies that have been brought down by bad client relationships. A bad client comes in and just poisons the well. 72 and Sunny has been really fortunate in that like I said, they're intentional, they're problem solving. And that's really the thing that I've taken from that organization, is to look for solutions, to be optimistic about being able to solve them, and also to be honest about when we don't think we can.
Right. And I don't know to what extent you can talk about this, but at what point do you transition towards like being independent, and what are the benefits that you have seen without having them as their umbrella over there?
That's a little bit of a mixed question, right? So we were incubated inside of 72 and Sunny, both in Los Angeles and in Brooklyn, trying to find a way to activate creator culture on the internet, right?
Right.
I have a pretty extensive background in both working and managing creativity, and creating campaigns that use a lot of what we would call now influencers, but they were just digital creators. And so 72 and Sunny was a great place to incubate that idea. However, once we figured out that we weren't a great match or a great, we weren't additive to 72 and Sunny's client base, it became very clear to us that we needed to go out on our own and have our own brand, our own profile, and be able to be brought in for special occasions. But we're building our own organization, our own client relationships, and our own way of doing business, company culture, hiring practices, all of that stuff.
Any challenges that you have seen now as more of independent versus when you guys were over there, or it's more or less a similar problems and solutions that you guys are coming with?
So our independence or our liberation, we were not under some kind of
Right. No, I understand.
It coincides almost 1-to-1 with the pandemic, and so our business has changed, but it was going to change anyway. We had started working remotely and being a much more kind of a distributed organization, trying to reduce our overhead and all of those things that you have to do when you're a startup. At the same time, everyone went home. Everyone's working from a home office or a living room or what have you. And so for us, I find it hard to distinguish what would have been different had we just been independent, but outside of 72 and Sunny without the pandemic. I'll let you know in 6 months.
We'll do part two, and we'll see about that. Right. So one of the things that I find really interesting about you guys and the work that you're doing is this balance between thinking like a performance marketer and media optimization, with also the strategy and the creative of a different type of agency, right? So how do you balance this part science, part art that you guys are working with, and how hard is that?
So for Sundae, I come to this honestly. I come to it from an interest in making great digital content, whether that's video or still or audio. And that's always been something where I have a lot of experience. I've never really in my career working with a lot of entertainment brands, a lot of packaged goods brands, a lot of telecom brands. I've never had the ability to really say, I know exactly how this is working. Right. So I would say that we have really been leaning into the ability to take our pedigree in great content and apply data and results, particularly knowing how powerful the social platforms are driving audiences to take specific actions. So we apply editorial principles, we apply client management principles, and those are all things that a lot of people have, where we, I think, are special, and where I think we are over-indexing now is just trying to make sure that we're solving short, midterm, and long-term problems for clients, particularly when they give us $1 and we can tell them that delivered $2 or $4.
So a couple follow-up questions from that. I started as a writer myself, and I'm a writer at heart, which is an artist. Even artists are broke, and I wanted to be a business owner. But there was a lot of creative part when I was an artist, right? Do you ever think that this performance marketing holds creativity back from your people, or is just focusing it on the right channels and the right ways?
So our creative team are really the influencers, right? We identify them for each project. We're really precise about who we want to work with. And we're looking to inspire them and to be inspired by them. We don't often show them the performance piece of the business, because what we want from them is the stuff that turns their audiences on, so that then we can deploy it to audiences who don't even know about them. This is where the magic is. For creativity, I think that there's creativity in solving problems with paid media and performance social. I think that for me is super exciting and inspiring. And I think that the team that is on the day-to-day business, not necessarily the influencers, because they're not staff. Right. It's the talent team, the media team, the client management team, and the executive team. We are turned on creatively by our ability to use content to drive results.
I love that. So talking a bit more about the influencer side, obviously they need to have a great audience that is engaged. But if you were like to talk to an influencer, say, what are the things that you can do? I'm an athlete, so it would be like off the court, right? So for them, what's the off the court things that you don't see on their content, but helps you build a relationship with them and says, let's work with this influencer versus another who might have equally good content or equally good audience?
So the audience for us is less important. We're gonna buy that audience, right? Okay. What we want someone who we know, based on whatever the creative platform is, can create a premium asset or group of assets for us. Do they know what good lighting is? Can they speak into a microphone so that we can understand them? Those kinds of things where they can shoot it, particularly during a pandemic where there aren't a lot of videographer friends around who you can go and capture with. For us, what really matters is the ability to be like a creative director. We're looking for people who take instruction, but can push back when something doesn't match up with their idea of what kind of content they want to create. What we're really hiring them for is their personal aesthetic and their personality. And so I would think that we aren't so particular about the things that we don't know about, because we're going to coach them up. If they show that they can operate a camera, work with natural or artificial light, and tell good stories, we're going to have a pretty good relationship.
I love that. And I guess it's a challenge, right? Because you guys are producing your influencer content, producing remotely. So like, how has that changed, like that relationship? Are you guys coaching them on like how to do it remotely versus having a videographer that's creating the content? How has it changed for you guys this remote content producing?
So it's a case by case, client by client basis. But our general approach here is we're not recruiting influencers to appear in television commercials and to go on shoots with, Spike Jonze.
Right.
What we're doing is we're allowing them to be in their elements, to be comfortable, to tell stories that reflect their personal lifestyle, whatever it might be. So to be honest, I find that where we are now, we have a lot more influencers answering the phone for us. And they're like, I'm into that. But also we have an advantage over a lot more studio type content producers, digital content producers, and or commercial operations, because we are producing at least as good a content as we were before, and we're getting better at it every day. Our ability to brief in a strategic idea to an influencer now, we tend to have more time. Days are getting longer.
Right.
People are home and willing to put in a little more effort on it, because now a lot of clients are working with influencers over the long term, right? So we set up a portfolio strategy, and influencers get to constantly be making content for the same brand over and over again. They get better at it, and their content improves from a performance perspective and an aesthetic perspective.
Makes sense. And I do think there's a big opportunity for brands that usually would have content produced in a studio, which is shut down right now, of how can we produce that remotely through influencers, right? Because it's an avenue that it was probably more untapped before, and now it's just like the only option to create content, basically.
If you want fresh content, there's an easy solution, right? Because a lot of brands had relied on agencies and studios and expensive shoots. It's tended to be, we'll definitely do the studio stuff and we'll try and do the influencer stuff for a lot of brands. Now, a lot of brands are just like, oh, you mean I can get this content? And one of the things that we always do for our clients is we license the influencer content so that they can deploy it on their social channels, on their website, in emails, across the digital landscape, so that they've got this, a catalog of working content that continues to come in, and its cost continues to decrease because they have already invested. It's already done its job.
Right. Tell me about TikTok. Do you think it can be a performance marketing platform, or how has that? Have you guys implemented it at all on your strategy? And where do you see? I know that I'm asking a lot of questions, but also where do you see the evolution of the platform? Because it's just such a new thing coming up.
There's there's a lot of speculation about how good TikTok's going to be. They have really powerful ad products in beta that they're making available to some brands and some agencies. Whether we see that come to fruition the way we have for Instagram is to be determined. Right. But there's no question that there's the positive and welcoming nature of TikTok is very attractive to brand clients. Right. It's you go onto Twitter and it's a hellscape. Right. It's fun and it's engaging, and a lot of brands need to be there. But TikTok, I think, is going to be a very interesting platform for if they can figure out their targeting without ruining the user experience, which is LinkedIn's trying to figure it out, Snap is trying to figure it out, Facebook's got it, YouTube doesn't need it.
Right.
Yeah, but it's all about targeting and being able to drive specific outcomes in digital. That's where the fun is. That's where the money is.
Is it top of mind for clients coming up? Is it like something that they come to you guys and say, we've been thinking about TikTok, or is that something that you have to educate them on as a new platform?
I'm trying to think about when we've recommended it in the last 6 to 8 weeks. Clients are very aware of TikTok. Right. Our kids are on it. We see a lot of content coming up in popular culture. We all read Taylor Lorenz and her articles in the Times, and there's just no question that it's right there on the cusp. And if they play their cards right, particularly from a UX perspective and an ad platform perspective, I think they'll be a player on in this for a long time, because they've managed the community really well. And that's an aspect of being a brand in a community, that you don't want to be intrusive. You want to be, you want to talk naturally. You want to be like you belong there. And for a long time, Facebook kind of ruined their the Instagram experience until they change the algorithm, so that
Right.
brands can no longer just pollute the feed.
And last question on TikTok.
Yeah.
Do you think it's just a D2C player right now, or how about B2B in the future? Right, because I'm a lot in B2B, so it's something that it's on my mind. Right, is there a way to utilize it in B2B right now, or maybe we have to wait a little bit longer? Where do you see it going?
So that's an interesting question. I don't know. It's B2B marketing. You know, we talked about this. I do a bit of it too. I mean, you have to, as a services provider to brands, you have to be in the B2B marketing game as well as the B2C marketing business. I just don't think that would be my first stop. It's not my first stop. I mean, certainly you want to have a presence there. You want to be able to just show that you've opened up your account and stuff. But I would be pouring dollars. If I'm a B2B marketer, I'm pouring my dollars into Twitter, LinkedIn. And I'm making my Instagram presence more robust without over exposing audiences because you can't target B2B audiences.
Yeah, that's what I had in mind as well. So it's funny that we were aligned there. In terms of like influencer marketing, and just a few more questions before we wrap this up. I was researching the industry before our episode, and I was reading that it's growing between 1.5 and 2x every year, right? So my question to you is, like, do you think that influencer marketing is still in the early stages of adoption for brands? And how will it mature over the next decade, right? Because I think it has a long way to go. So at what stage do we have influencer marketing right now?
So we're like we're in our late teens here.
Okay.
So we're starting to take on some responsibility for our own behavior, but our parents still pay for our health insurance. That kind of thing. I think that in 10 years, we're going to look back on the early days of influencer marketing, not 4 years ago, but this last couple years as transformative to digital marketing, transformative to how brands communicate with customers, transformative to how digital content is created. Our business, Sundae, is a content studio. It's a performance shop, and it's a social media calendaring solution for social clients that don't want to pay a social agency to make content that no one cares about from them.
Right.
One of the things that we do that's really powerful, and it makes up the bulk of our business, is whitelisting influencer accounts so we can deploy their content to new audiences and paid social. And that has been a game changer for our clients and for our business.
Right. So it's interesting how we think that influencer marketing is going to grow, right? So what are the things that are we doing right now that they're not going to play out or work in 4 or 5 years? Like what are the bad behaviors that brands are doing right now that in a few years they're going to be like, what were we doing?
So we went from using massive celebrity influencers, K-level, Kardashian level, right? Paying them huge dollar fees to reach their audiences, right? And even though 60 or 70% of their audiences were either bots or people who never went on those platforms.
Yeah.
Then we got into stacking micros and nanos, so mid-sized and smaller influencers, but using only organic reach.
Mm-hmm.
The present future of influencer marketing is finding great content creators who have authentic channels, no matter their size. You pay more for bigger followers, but bigger followers have earned that money. They've built audiences. But if you can find influencers who have not yet had haven't been in market long enough to build that, but they're going to, there's a real marketing efficiency there. You can get a really great deal on hiring them to work for your brand. So with what's going to happen, I think, is we'll have smaller groups, more prestigious pods of influencers creating content that looks very commercial, that will only be deployed to paid audiences. It won't even go to the channels. It won't even go to the followers of that influencer. And I think that once brands start understanding how much better that works for them, it also gives them a brand firewall. So they don't have to be so, we're polishing pixels here. I have my Harvard MBA, but yet I spend 40% of my time, looking at Facebook posts or Instagram posts. It's just that there's a better way to do this because it comes from the influencer in partnership with the brand, and it works 3 to 5 times better than what brands are doing in social. That's pretty much our business.
And does it run On the influencer profile or on the company account, or both?
Through the influencer's profile, right?
Okay.
So we get permission from the influencer through Facebook. We ask for their permission, and then we deploy that content through their profile to Instagram, Facebook audiences, to specific whatever ad groups we've targeted, whether those are lookalikes that the brand gave us, whether we're trying to test against new audiences, or whether we've got a new product or a passion point. But the thing that Facebook does best is targeting, right, is delivering content to their audiences and driving specific actions. So when you do that through the influencer's account, it just arrives in a more credible and action-oriented position, and the audiences that we deliver to are clicking more, they're watching longer, they're having better engagements, they remember the brand. Even on brand lift studies, we're outperforming what the brands are doing.
Right. And last question in this, because maybe out of personal interest and curiosity, who runs the ad campaign? Like, does the influencer give you access to you as an agency or the company, if they're doing directly, to run their ad money from there and the ad spend? Or
we handle all the media planning and buying.
Okay.
Talent, recruitment, briefing, whitelisting, and deployment, trafficking, and then of course all of the analytics and the optimization, the editorial. Because we cut up, we also take those assets and we cut them into more commercial performers. So we take a hello YouTube, it's me, and we make that into like a 30-second that, we chop it up and we make it work hard. Still the influencer's post. It still feels like, that's part of our contract. It's part of us being respectful of their original creation, but we just make it into something that works harder for the brand.
Awesome. And last question in terms of influencer marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys do a lot of work in terms of like optimization and tracking and being performance oriented. What are the usual key metrics that you guys keep an eye on, or does it depend on the campaign or the client? But like, what are the 3 to 4 key metrics that you're usually like taking a look at?
So we, there are the four horsemen. We've got, we start at the bottom is the CPA or the CAC, right? The CAC.
Mm-hmm.
How much does it cost? Well, how much does it cost for us to drive a specific conversion? Right. Then we do a lot of CPI campaigns. We do a lot of cost per install campaigns.
Right.
We do CPC campaigns, cost per click, and then we do CPM campaigns. And across the board, our cost of entry, our inventory pricing is lower because the algorithm and audiences respond more favorably to whitelisted influencer content than they do to brand social content.
Makes sense. And last question, we have a couple of last minutes.
Sure.
Outside of influencer marketing, how are you personally, Jeremiah, dealing with the COVID situation as a CEO, as a leader? What's changed for you personally, or what's helping you handle this situation the best that you can?
Booze. No. Just kidding. Well, so I'm fortunate to be in the Hudson Valley. I live in New York City, but we're in the Hudson Valley. So I'm fortunate to have a place to walk around and collect myself.
Mm-hmm.
And as a leader of organization, you kind of have to think through the day, because I have employees in California and in the South. And as we think about, everyone getting up at different times and having a different COVID-19 experience,
right?
We want to make sure everyone's feeling themselves and taking time for their own mental health. And let's take Friday off. I know it doesn't feel like a day off, but let's close the screens and walk away. And so I have been encouraging that among not just staff, but also with the clients. Clients should know that, hey, we're not just like sitting around 24/7, in front of a screen. It's unhealthy. And I think that we already have enough of this nasty unhealthiness around us that we can try and create environments where we look after our own mental health.
I love that. I think that's a perfect way to end it. Jeremiah, thank you so much for spending time and being here. I always love talking to you. We're going to put your LinkedIn profile, your company website in the description for the listeners. Anything else that you think we should add, or just to work?
Oh, that seems like more than enough.
That seems enough? Okay, awesome. And
in touch. It was great talking with you.
Absolutely. And if you're listening, feel free to subscribe and share, or don't, whatever you want. And we'll see you next episode.